In the Senate, the scandal at Arlington National Cemetery played out in classic Washington style Thursday. A contentious hearing, a lot of drama. Lawmakers said a lot. Officials blamed for this, quote, catastrophic incompetence said very little. Montana Senator Jon Tester summed it up this way. Take a listen.
This is not only totally unacceptable, it is a black eye that, quite frankly, needs to be dealt with in a way and make things right as soon as possible.
Clearly disgusted by all of that, Senator Tester now joins me on the phone. Senator, that hearing was just extraordinary. You called it a black eye. How do you make it right? How can you repair this damage?
Well, I think they need to go back and get their act together at Arlington Cemetery. The fact is that they have records. They need to check those records, make clear that what they have done is absolutely right, and fix it yesterday. You know, Andrea, you know, we lay our war heroes and expect to know where they are, expect them to be able to rest in peace. And right now, there's a lot of uncertainty out there amongst wives and children that the people who were said to be in those graves actually are in those graves. And this is, you know, Arlington is a national shrine, as was pointed out yesterday. And for this to even for us to even have a hearing on this is totally ridiculous. I mean, we shouldn't even be here. But the fact is, we are here. And here's the part that upsets me. I mean, no one, not the guys running Arlington, not the Army, nobody in the Office of Management and Budget, nobody expressed any interest in fixing this until the latest Inspector General report came out and showed up in the Washington Post. It reminds me a lot of what happened at Walter Reed right after I first got into office.
I was going to say that. It does sound like Walter Reed. If not for the Washington Post and the Inspector General and you guys, who would pay any attention to this?
Well, that's exactly right, and you take some things for granted, and I guess nothing should be taken for granted, not even how we bury our war heroes.
Are criminal charges at all possible?
Well, you know, it's interesting. I got a note on my Facebook page, and one of the gentlemen that called in said it about right, and I think this is about the sentiment of the general population. Those that are responsible should have to hand dig every grave and figure out who's in there and make it right. I can tell you that I think that criminal charges are absolutely in order in this particular case. There's another issue here, though, too, and that is Congress has appropriated money, somewhere between $5.5 and $10 million, that has been just completely wasted because they don't have an electronic tracking system. They don't have the digital records. The VA does. You can get online and find out where anyone is buried in I believe 131 cemeteries the VA manages, but you can't in Arlington. And we're in the 21st century these days. I mean, when I plant my crops on my farm, I don't use note cards to do that. And Arlington still uses note cards. They're locked in an environment 60, 70 years ago. It doesn't have to be this way, and we spent good money to fix it, and it hasn't been fixed. People are going to be held responsible, and I think this hearing yesterday was the first step.
Amen to that. I wanted to ask you before I let you go about what's happening in Montana, because everyone is concerned about the bear attack. What's the latest on that? They think that they found the grizzly. I guess it was a female grizzly that they think was responsible. Do you know anything more about it?
I don't know much more, but that's what happens. I mean, these are wild animals, and people like to get out in the country, as do I, and experience those, whether it's big game or whether it's wolves or grizzly bears. And these are wild animals, and there's a level of unpredictability there, and it's a terrible thing that happened. But things like that are going to happen when you're dealing with wild animals. It's just a fact.
It's terrible for everyone in the Yellowstone area, everyone who loves to hike, but obviously the Park Service doing what they can to try to minimize the damage and prevent any further loss of life. Thank you very much, Senator Tester. Thanks for being with us.
I agree, Andrea. I mean, I think they really went out and did their due diligence in the Park Service, and I think that's critically important, and you got to do everything you do to make sure this kind of stuff doesn't happen. Thank you,
Jon Tester from Montana, thanks again.